Good evening, and once again, you have heard me say this before, that our budget developed annually is an educational blueprint for the work that we'll do in the following year, and certainly this year is no different. The budget development process is one that starts in the fall, really, and it starts at the top, and we'll move clockwise at each school and department level. So what will happen is, at this level, our school administration and department heads, supervisors, start to work with our teachers and staff to develop a needs assessment as to what we're looking for in the following year. And then those requests, and not all are filled, and some remain on a perpetual wish list, but sometimes we have some bright spots and we can fill those, so it's an important process. But it goes next to the district and central office level, where we really start to ask questions and prioritize what our needs and wants are. And then that moves forward to the Board of Education at the committee level. So depending on the initiatives, we might move towards we might move an item towards our curriculum committee or the finance committee, etc. And then it comes to the full board. And so tonight, this is the first opportunity that the entire board has a chance to hear me present most formally the budget that we'll be putting forth for at the budget hearing coming up. Our fiscal year 2015 budget priorities have shifted just a little as compared to last year and the year before. And the first is to strengthen instructional programs. I'll be talking about some new programming, but I think best captured this year is the concept that we're strengthening what we already have and honing and refining the reforms that we've set in place, particularly in the area of professional development, pre-K-12. And so there'll be a lot of work that we'll be doing in this next year in the area of professional development. You'll hear a lot of the terminology now that is integrated into our conversation, which is Common Core, which is PARC, and then that filters down into curriculum mapping or school development programs, team teaching, differentiated learning, meeting the needs of our special needs learners, integrating technology. So all of these concepts are embedded into a more global and general plan of professional development. And then finally, maintaining facilities. We do have money set aside. There have been some cuts in this area. They are general and they're broad, so we don't anticipate that anyone will see them, but we do know that there are very little new initiatives in the area of facilities, but we are maintaining. So in a three-prong approach, this particular fiscal year 2015, to strengthen our instructional programs, to capture new goals and objectives in professional development, and maintaining facilities. Where are we investing our resources this year? In professional development and in curriculum and instruction. So those will be our focus areas for our goals that'll be set forth when we start to develop school planning. This is also the time of year when we start developing individual plans of growth for our certificated staff members particularly, so we'll start to see that and memorialize that even more. This is a slide that is repeated from last year's presentation, and so we are 1 year closer now to full implementation of PARC for 2015. The final administration of the New Jersey Ask will take place this spring, and PARC will eventually replace all of New Jersey Ask as well as HESPA. We join over 23 states or so developing this next generation of assessments. And so we'll be testing all of our students in grades 3 through 8, Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, and English in grades 9, 10, and 11. Yet to be determined is what that will look like as a graduation exit exam, if you will. So those will be conversations that we'll have here at the local level. But a lot of this budget development really started to talk about how we develop programs, assessments, goals, objectives that are measurable, attainable, and that we can talk about with regard to how we measure student achievement. So in this budget, these are some of the new programs that I can talk with you about tonight that are in the program, and I'll take you to the deep blue block in the middle, and that is block scheduling at the high school with a new elective class program. If you haven't had an opportunity, I would encourage everyone to jump online and view the presentation that Mr. Hanshu and Mr. Grillon did last month. And also there's a PowerPoint there as well. So block scheduling at the high school is right now fully in force moving forward to start in September of this year. I'll take you down to the lower left, Mill Pond teaming. So Mill Pond will be extending and under Dr. Kopak's leadership, improving the systems that have happened there in grades 5 and 6 by joining 2 teachers together as part of a team. And so that is going to also increase and has already increased this year, but we're extending a little further to make sure that our class size numbers are fine and where we want them. But 80 minutes of math and 80 minutes of English language arts. So increased instructional time for math and English language arts at Mill Pond and some dedicated science lab time were also some of the benefits of Mill Pond teaming. So I'll be talking about how we'll be supporting that in this budget. I'll take you to the lime green box rather, and that is ice hockey. I'm not sure if there are any ice hockey parents in the audience tonight, but we know that ice hockey is now a popular and growing sport in New Jersey. Over 10% growth over the past 5-year period with new teams forming every year. So we are proud to announce that in this budget build, we'll be hopefully including an ice hockey team for Lacey and 14-15 on ice. I'll take you over to the right-hand corner around 1 o'clock. We'll be including 2 new special education programs. The first is extending our programming here at the high school for students with autism. We'll be including a new teacher and paraprofessional to address the needs of those students who are aging into that program, and also System 44, which is an online program for challenged and reluctant readers. There is a small group instruction component there as well as a differentiated approach to that. So we'll be extending the Read 180 program with System 44. Right underneath that, further extension of our middle school and high school STEM programs. So we have allocated resources and made a commitment to expanding STEM in that regard. And that moves along nicely to the next generation science standards that we are anxiously waiting in New Jersey to adopt. I don't believe that that's been formal yet. We're waiting for an anticipated decision, but we are prepared for that. And STEM will be a key and core component of that. And then lastly, over in the upper left-hand corner, we've included in this budget funding for a new program for gifted and talented students and an arts in education residency program where we will be identifying 2 students here at the high school to provide seats for them if they are interested in an early release program. It's a 12-week I think it's a 12-week program residency where students will be able to attend the arts and education program in arts and music. So we're very excited to offer that this year for the first time for our students here at the high school. The budget plan. To achieve some of the goals that I just mentioned, we will be adding 2 new teachers to 5th grade at Mill Pond. We'll also be including 1 learning disabilities teacher for our child study team. Our current enrollment for students in special education program is about 950 students receiving special education services, therapies, all dependent on their individual educational program. A learning disabilities teacher is involved in educational assessments, is involved as a master teacher, as a diagnostician, has to know special education law, and is integral in making sure that instructional strategies are designed and found in a student's IEP. We have an astronomical ratio right now for our learning disabilities teachers, and we believe that it's affecting the quality and the compliance issues that we want to address. So there is one learning disabilities teacher in this budget, and earlier I mentioned that we will also be looking to hire one new teacher for our autistic program here at the high school and one paraprofessional who would be matched in that classroom. The chart, which I'm certain that you're familiar with, it's one that we've shown now for a few years, indicates the operating expenditures. So over on the left, I'll guide you through the first row is instruction and student services, and you'll find in the first column are last year's expenditures, and there were $34,855,301, and this year you'll see almost $35 million, a change of only $84,000, and that represents a 0.24% increase. The next is tuition. Slight increase there, and those tuition costs are always dependent and fluid at any given time when a student moves into our district and is in need of services that we cannot provide here. I checked to see where we were in the previous year. Interestingly, we're seeing that this particular line item comes up and down, but is hovering in the same area. You'll see a decrease in administration this year, a decrease in capital outlay by almost 22%, a slight increase in operations, a slight increase in transportation, a decrease in personnel services, which includes benefits, workers' comp, pension, and tuition reimbursement. And the total operating budget right now as presented is 0.44% increase. I'll leave that up there for a minute so you can take a look. Represented in another way is the pie chart, and so you can see that 54% of our operating expenditures are earmarked in the area of instruction, taking you to the lowest level at 0% of capital outlay. And personnel services, again, are including those aforementioned categories of benefits, workers' comp, etc. This year, the district will be realizing an increase in employee contributions for health benefits, this year $1.5 million. And we are moving into the next tier, tier 3 of tier 4. Next year, again, will be a higher contribution. On the revenue side, before we talk about that, I just want to point out that this budget is $824,000 below the threshold that we could go to, which would be at 2% without any waivers. So we are $824,000 below cap. Remember, the 2% cap that was placed on districts was really designed to bring predictability to taxpayers and stability to a tax rate. And so we have realized again, and I need to say it again, a significant recognition that we had an opportunity to go $824,000 higher in this budget, and this district has not done that. So the operating revenues, particularly I want to point out the state aid number, is an increase of only $88,000, 0.42. The local tax levy change is 0.44. You'll see a slight increase in semi-Medicaid reimbursement, and I'll just mention that again because we only talk about it once a year. Semi is the number of students who are currently receiving Medicaid eligibility. And so districts across New Jersey are able to submit reimbursement for therapies that are covered, such as speech, occupational therapy, physical therapy. We have to we are required to have a participation rate. So the increase there is not necessarily that We have more students who are eligible for Medicaid. It is indicative of aggressive measures where our special education department is talking with families to find out if they are receiving the services, and then we can reimburse. So I just wanted to point that out. School tax rate over 8 years. At this time, the average household would have an increase of about $106 annually, 106, with an increase average of about $8.83 per month, and the average over 8 years is 2.59 cents. This slide again shows the stability of the district's budget proposals, and in these past 2 years, and I will take you to that what appears to be a deep blue or green line is the general fund. So very flat, and has been generally flat over the years, as debt service has also changed slightly, but the general fund total has not. So in summary, for our upcoming year, our total budget increase is $138,701. Our total general fund increase is $280,651. Our general fund tax levy increase, $182,829,000. And some of the highlights in summary, that this budget provides all current educational programs with favorable class sizes. We are making progress in science, technology, engineering, and math programs. We have targeted extension of our online learning opportunities here at the high school, part of our block scheduling program with the elective classes. And in professional development, which I focused on before, park training, teacher effectiveness training, meeting the needs of the special needs learner, and technology integration. Curriculum mapping continues to be a focus for us. We're almost completely mapped right now, and so Dr. Clark and her team will start to work with teachers on evaluating our maps and identifying areas of improvement as part of our constant growth process and philosophy. That concludes this year's budget presentation, and at this time I would take any questions from the board or from the community. Mr. Savage, I just want to take a moment and thank you personally for the work that you did in developing it and helping to put this budget together. And I also want to take a moment as well, and thank all of the administrators that are here. I know that this is hard work, and I know it's difficult for you and challenging, particularly with regard to the decisions that you need to make and the ones that you need to walk away from. So I thank you and recognize you for your work. Dr. Clark, thank you too. I know that you were integral in making sure that this budget was foundational before my arrival, so I recognize the work that you did as well. So, questions? Comments? I'd like to say seeing none. Mr. Moss.
You said the average would be about $8 a month per...
Average household. Average assessed value of the home.
Which assessed value?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know if it was 317 this year. I don't remember what the actual number was. We'll get back to you once we get to our seats. But we use the average assessed value of the home. Sure.